CQ, 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 and welcome back to the 599 Signal Report. I am your host, Ron, W2ELS. In this series of podcast episode, I am with Mike, N2MAK, who is a local ham and a YouTube star. I am Elmering Mike as he is interested in learning CW. So, go ahead and take a listen to this podcast and enjoy the conversation with Mike, N2MAK.
What's up? I'm Mike, N2MAK, and I got a special guest with me today, my buddy Ron, W2ELS from the 599 Signal Report. And this is going to be the first of a two-part series on getting started in CW. CW is one of my goals for 2026. Specifically, it is going to be, I want to do a POTA activation, a Parks on the Air activation, CW only before the end of this year. So I still got plenty of time. I don't want to take too long like I did last year with my goal of making a satellite QSO, which was done with like 3 or 4 days left in the year to spare. But Ron and I started talking this winter because he's got a fabulous podcast we're going to learn a little bit more about on getting started in CW. And I thought it would be great to kind of do a collaboration together for both his podcast and my YouTube channel on getting started in CW, because I have a lot of questions and he's got a lot of answers for us. But just to quickly introduce Ron, we are together in the same club, the Rochester Amateur Radio Association. He is probably within 2 meter simplex range.
So, Mike, can you tell me a little bit about your ham radio journey and what your interest is in CW for the podcast audience?
Yeah, sure. So it was a while ago. I don't come from a ham family. I first preface, okay, I'm not an engineer. I'm not in IT. Not a first responder or any of the stereotypical, ham occupations that we tend to see. I always say I'm a lobbyist, right? Ham radio is definitely my escape from the world of government and politics and all that. But it was something that I got interested in it when I lived down in Binghamton, New York, and I was working for the state down there. And we had 2 significant floods, 2 of these 100, 500-year floods. And I spent a lot of time at the Emergency Operations Center. And that's where I kind of first learned about radio and its role when it comes to emergency preparedness. Okay. And it was something that was in the back of my mind. I looked into ham radio. The problem was I was in the process of moving from Binghamton to Rochester, where I am now. It's the process of changing jobs. We just had our first kid and all these obstacles in the way. So I had looked, and I remember looking up to see what was involved with getting a license for amateur radio. I went so far as to see when rah-rah club meetings were. This is all pre-pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. And there was just so much going on between family, work. There was always an excuse. And then the pandemic hit, right? And so I always like to say I'm one of these pandemic hams. All of a sudden, I'm not coaching kids sports because kids sports and a lot of this stuff is kind of all put on hold. And I realized I have the time to do this. And so it was November of 2020. I looked to see if they were still testing, and they were. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, if they're still testing and there's an audio book, I'm going to do this. And I looked, and there was a test in 2 weeks. There was an audiobook. I used the Fast Track ham audiobooks for all of mine. And
shout out to Fast Track.
Yeah. And I spent an hour to 2 hours a day walking and listening to the audiobooks. Everyone learns different. That's what worked for me. And I thought I was going to get in and just get my tech, and that was it. But I certainly crammed for the tech. I was surprised with less than 2 weeks. I was able to actually get it done. But my first contact on the repeater was Tim, WB2KAO. And he, anyone in the Rochester area, Tim is like a saint when it comes to ham radio. He's one of the nicest hams, and he's so encouraging. And he encouraged me not just to join the net on Tuesdays, but continue. Well, he was always say, well, you're in that academic study mode. Keep going, keep going.
That's right.
And it kind of sunk in after a week or two. I was like, all right, fine. I'll do this. And then in January, I did my general and I did my extra in February. Along the way, I took an interest in POTA. I think it was probably watching some of the YouTube videos and knowing that we're in a really park dense part of the Northeast. New York and a lot of the Northeast have tons of POTA parks. We're very fortunate, and I kind of gravitated to that, and the rest is history. I kind of dove in head first with parks on the air, and portable operations is my thing. I still to this day do not have a station set up, a permanent station, at least for HF at the house. So that's kind of been my journey into ham radio. It started out as an interest in emergency communications. Certainly turned into something much more with portable operations, and just a strong interest in all kinds of different bands and modes and just doing different things, because I think we realize, and I mentioned it earlier, we all learn differently.
That's right.
But I think experience and failure are two of the best ways to learn, just by actually doing things. So by getting on the air, by trying to build antennas, I'm horrible at soldering. I'm getting better with practice.
Right.
And but by doing some of these things and just trying different modes, different bands, different antennas, different setups, it's been a fantastic learning experience. And all these things that I had to memorize to pass the exams and get that license to learn, right?
That's right.
Now I've learned just by doing, whether it's by practicing or making mistakes along the way, because none of us are perfect.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And along the way, you decided to start a YouTube channel. Tell us why you started this YouTube channel.
Yeah, it was for very selfish reasons, because honestly, I had this whole list of things I wanted to do and try in ham radio, especially as a newer ham. And I wanted to hold myself accountable, and I started thinking, part of it was the kids. I'll back up a little bit. My kids were like, hey, they see me watching YouTube, and they're like, oh, you should do that. You could do that.
That's right.
Whatever. And so I recorded my first SOTA. I did like a YouTube short, the very first video. My son and I, because my oldest one has his general, and one of my friends, we went up, we did a SOTA, did a YouTube short on that, and I did like, 2 or 3 other little shorts. Didn't really get much traction, but I started thinking, as I had this list of things I wanted to do and accomplish, I'm like, if I do a YouTube channel, it'll force me to do different things, because it's easy, especially if you get into POTA. I could go out to the park and I could just do voice on 20 and 40 meters and get pileups day in, day out, no problem.
Right. No problem.
Use the same antennas, the same radios, whatever. But I wanted to do different things. I didn't want to get too calm, too complacent. And so that was the nature of the channel. It was for me to encourage myself to get out, try new, different things, but then also to share that with the viewers. And along in the journey, and I'm sure it's the same way with the podcast, you have people reach out, oh, this was a big help. Thanks so much for doing this. And that makes it all the more worthwhile. So that was the impetus for doing the channel. And I've had a blast doing it, and I met some great people along the way. We have a few slides that you put together, and so this, as I said, this is going to be part 1, getting started in CW. Like, what are some of the tips, the resources? What is out there to kind of help me on my journey? Because I know it's not just going to be me doing this on my own and stuff. So why don't you take us through some of the slides? And then I know I got a ton of questions, so I'll probably have some questions for you after and stuff. But yeah.
So yeah, let's make this interactive, Mike. I definitely wanted to get some questions or feedback along the way so that we can truly get through this. So I'm just going to go right in. You probably got one of those charts on your wall, right? With the dits and das. I got one right here, and it has the dash for a G is a dash dash dit, right? You probably, it's on your wall, right? I want you to rip it down. Okay, maybe put a post-it note over it. Because the key point is that CW needs to be a heard language. Okay. You don't want to just start saying, okay, a G, da, da, dit. No. That's not how you want to hear it. You want to hear your G. That's G, right? So you want to hear it. So in the technique that's called is instant character recognition. You
Okay.
want to hear it and then say it, or hear it and then copy it. Don't try to count the dits. Don't try to count the das. Let your brain just hear those characters as
Okay.
unique sounds. And you almost want to do it almost subconsciously so that you're not doing it, okay, consciously, da, da, dit. Unconsciously start subliminally hearing the character as a whole sound so that you can just get that and recognize the sound and just say G. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yep. Totally does. And a quick question, just out of curiosity, did you play music at all? Did you? I've heard that if people who have experience with music, maybe they played an instrument, it can be beneficial when it comes to learning. I'm just curious if you've heard that or if you had any experience. I played saxophone for,
Oh, okay.
and I played baritone sax from like fourth grade through 11, so like 7, 8 years or something like that.
So unfortunately, I didn't. So, and yes, I've heard that too. I don't have a
Okay.
musical bone in my body. I played the trumpet for 1 year, so that
Okay.
that didn't help me at all. But I've heard that those who do, because you think about it, it's a
Interesting.
note, right? If you think about
Yep.
a letter, I mean, it's a note. So if you can consciously get those notes, you're probably going to have a better advantage than I will starting out.
All right.
So yeah, so let's drop that chart or put a post-it note over it. And now the question is, how do you do that? So, number one, I'm going to say, without looking at any of the structured learning ways, you're going to need to practice for 45 minutes a day. I know what you're going to say already, Mike. I'm too busy. I
Yeah.
got too many things. The kids got to go here. The kid they got sports. I gotta work. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
take those 45 minutes and don't do it 45 minutes straight. Break it up into three
Yeah.
15-minute chunks. So what I started doing is I get up a little bit early, not that much, 15 minutes in the morning. I'll do 15 minutes of copy practice just to get those, again, getting instant character recognition. At lunchtime, when I'm usually sitting over my desk trying to scarf down a sandwich, instead of doing something like watching a YouTube video, I'll whip out what we're going to talk about, Morse Mania, and start
All right.
playing just so that I can get 15 minutes of copy practice in, or recognition in. And then at the end of the day, I'll either hop on the air and, do 15-minute QSOs, or I'll work on sending practice, things like that. So it's not 45 whole minutes a day, it's breaking it up into segments. So that's the commitment. And even though you're in Albany or you're traveling, Mike, you can still
Mm-hmm.
you have your phone with you. So
Yep.
you have Morse Mania, or you'll have the ability to copy some predefined sending. Now let's talk about structured instructions. I say there's two ways. One, there's the LICW way, and two is the CW Ops CW Academy way. So
Okay.
LICW is one structured way of doing it, is joining LICW, great group of people. They were founded specifically to teach people how to learn Morse code and adult learners to learn Morse code. The key
Right.
point with LICW, it's really flexible. You'll get in and you'll join a class. It's all over Zoom. So they have people from around the world. They set up their class times. They have excellent instructors. I just had an instructor on the podcast. Shout out Stu, KM3STU. They are great. They work with you. They'll get you there. There's a variety of classes, and what they'll do is they'll put you into what they call carousel. So the beginning carousel is the BC1 carousel. So in that carousel, you'll learn a few letters and maybe a number or two, and then you go on. The next time you come back, it'll be a few more letters and a few more numbers until you get through that carousel. And the good thing about a carousel, you can hop in or hop out anytime you want to. So
Okay.
if you are free to join the 7 o'clock on Monday class, you hop in, join the 7 o'clock on Monday class. If you're busy with work, can't make it, that it happens, right? So you just move on. But you still want to practice on your own. You still want to join classes when you can. So that's the LICW way. It's a little bit more flexible, a little bit more, you can hop in, hop out. If you got to take a month off, you take a month off. That's just the way it is. There's the CW Ops, CW Academy way. So the CW Ops and CW Academy, and by the way, I've done both, and I am in both. But
All right.
that one's CW Ops Academy is a little bit more structured. It's a regularly scheduled Zoom meetings, multiple meetings. It is a time bound where you will have 8 weeks to get through their sessions, and they break it up into 4 classes: the beginners, fundamental, intermediate, and advanced. You're assigned a advisor, they're called, and you are put with a cohort. So when you're in your cohort and you're with your advisor, you are expected to be there at your appointed class sessions, and
Okay.
you will practice. And then you are expected to do the specific homework on your own, and it's a very regimented. It's still within that 45
Nice.
minute practice window, but it's very regimented. Where you need to, the instructor is going to say you need to listen to this QSO, you need to practice sending, and you need to do these things, and you need to do this before the next class. So very structured, very regimented. As adult learners, you got to pick one of those paths. Some people need that structure and that rigidness of the CW Academy, while others, they like the flexibility of the LICW.
Okay.
So what's your initial thoughts on flexibility or rigidness, Mike?
I think there's pros and cons to both, right?
Absolutely.
And you talk about schedules. It's the challenging thing for me with the kids is the sports ball schedule changes with the seasons.
That's right.
Basketball right now, but soccer coming up, and we go from one basketball team to another basketball team in the spring, and this and that. It's all constantly in flux. Right now, what a good day of the week is for me right now might not be a good day of the week 2 months from now or
That's right.
so. That said, when you have structure, when you have things like deadlines,
Yeah.
and for me, when I was studying, I did my tech in like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
There was an exam coming up. I got an audiobook. I powered through it. I did 1 to 2 hours a day. This was during the pandemic when we didn't have to worry about getting the kids around to sports and
Right.
school activities as much because there wasn't a lot of that going on at the time in 2020. But I took advantage of that free time, and having that deadline in place, knowing when that one exam was that month coming up, it was important to sort of have a little bit of structure. And so I think it's nice to have options
That's right.
because there's no perfect radio, there's no perfect antenna.
That's right.
As soon as I find the perfect antenna, I'll stop making and buying them. It doesn't exist. So everyone's
Right.
different. Everyone, it's good to have options,
That's
but
right.
that's helpful to understand because I hear these two names a lot:
That's right.
Long Island CW Club, CW Ops, and this is helpful to understand a little bit of the difference and what some of the pros and cons might be.
Yep, that's right. Shows you the pros, shows you the cons, and definitely, and we'll talk a little bit more about each of them too and their approach as far as keys. So let's dive right into digital toolkits. Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
So I already mentioned Morris Mania, and that app is absolutely wonderful. Free app. There is a paid section of it, but it's that practice, that gamification of CW, and it's great for you're sitting in, you sit in the doctor's office and you have downtime, or you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting waiting for a meeting to start or whatever it
Yeah.
is. I throw my AirPods in and just practice and just
Okay.
work on being a, because I was struggling with it earlier the day, or work on, you can even do some sending in there if you wanted to, or you can do some words. It's great. It's a great app. I would
Nice.
highly recommend it. It's on all the app platforms, Apple, as well as the Google platform as well. So it's definitely there, and definitely one worthy app of having on your phone.
I will definitely be downloading it. I almost did. When I was looking at the presentation before we did the video, I was like, "Gosh, I'm gonna wait till after the show.
Yep. So
I'll wait
now
till after we record and stuff. Then I will definitely be downloading it. I didn't want to get too far ahead, and I kind of wanted to hear, your experience and use and hear from you first before I kind of dove in. So good.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely download it, and you'll get started with it, and get it on your phone. Just get it on your phone and
will
just play with
do.
it. There are some web-based trainings, and a lot of these, if you go through Long Island CW as well as CW Ops, CW Academy, they will recommend these three specifically. Of course, the LICW practice page, Long Island CW is going to recommend that, and they're going to show you how to set it up as a beginner. So the beginner's carousel, they're going to focus on 12 words a minute, and they're going to show you, here are the few things that you need to practice. If you want to be a rebel and go on your own, you can use lcwo.net as well as morrisecode.world. Both of them, oh my gosh, excellent websites. They put so much time into the development of it. The one guy for Morse Code World Morse code.world. He's not even a ham. Yet he
Mm,
went out and developed this for hams, and he's a software developer, and he keeps improving it. And he's partnered with
great.
LICW. He's partnered with CW Ops, CW Academy on making that web page even that better. So excellent resources were there.
Nice. And I have not heard of these ones. I've heard of Morse Mania,
Hmm.
but these, this is good. This is really helpful.
Yeah. Yep. So these are going to be the ones that you lean on and go to as you keep moving in your journey. So now that you're learning how to copy the code, now that you're learning, okay, I can pick this up, you got to be able to send the code, right? so,
Yes.
there's two options. Well, there's multiple options, but let's focus on these first two. The straight key. I think you got one in your hand right next to you there, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I do.
so with that one, you're going to create your manual dits and your manual da. So you know your dit or your da, and you have to create that manually. And this is the recommendation that LICW is going to give to you because they want you to get used to creating that dit and knowing that da and making
Yeah.
it on your own. Now, there's pros and cons to using a straight key. One is that it requires a little bit more physical ability because if you're really pounding the brass, as they call it, as well as you're really moving your hand up and down, and
Hmm.
it can be tiring. And
Yeah.
also, you can only go so fast with straight key. I don't know, it's 15, 16 words a minute, or maybe faster if you move quicker.
Okay.
There's some disadvantages, but there's some advantages to learning the dits and the das manually, but there's disadvantages with regard to physical as well as the speed with which you could send.
All right.
So the paddle and the electronic keyer. So instead of creating the dits and das, the electronic keyer actually does it for you. It's the internal braids and it creates perfect dits and it creates perfect das. So as you pick up your paddle, one side is going to be your dit, the other side is going to be your da, and you click it and it's going to dit or it's going to da, and it's using something called a keyer that does that for
I
you.
see.
All of our modern radios, I don't think there's any have an electronic keyer built into it automatically. So all you have to do is plug in your key
Hmm.
and turn the keyer on your rig. It's going to take care of it for you. Take care of that perfect dit, perfect off for you. I
All
think you
right.
got to
So
go ahead.
I was say, so one of the questions I have, I'm going to jump in with it right
Go
now
for it.
instead of saving it, is typically like the left, when we're talking about a paddle,
Mhm.
which side is the dit and the da typically? And then I guess I would ask, like, left-handed, right-handed, does it make a difference?
Mhm.
How does that kind of work out? And is that something that you set in the radio? You have the option to change or what?
Yep, both options. The
Okay.
radios,
All right.
the radios, and the oscillators, which we'll talk about in a minute as well.
Okay.
Those you can change it either way. The traditional, I would say, the dit would be the thumb or the left side, and the da would be the right side or the finger. So the dit is the left with the thumb, da right with the finger, and those can be changed. And if you can't change it, guess what you do? You flip the key over. And then you do the dits and the da. And the preference is going to be yours because, as everyone,
Okay.
some people send right handed even though they're left handed, or they send left handed even though they're right handed. So part of it's going to be your preference. And being able to having the flexibility to change it within your radio or your oscillator or flip it over, it can allow you to do either one or both. Make sense?
Yeah, no, and that's interesting. This is something I look forward to, and this is going to come from just
Doing.
at least for me,
Absolutely.
because I tend to log, and everyone has their logging preferences. I tend to log on my phone.
Mhm.
It's occasionally I'll use an iPad or a computer. If I use the iPad, I always get flustered because I'm so used to using the phone. But typically for me, I got the phone in one hand and the mic in the other.
Right.
Even when I do digital, 9 times out of 10, I am still logging on my phone while
Interesting.
I'm doing FT. It's just a habit or something. And, you know, I'll get one arm will get tired holding the mic, and I'll
Hmm.
kind of switch. But it's gonna be interesting with CW. So it's something that I've been thinking about, like, from as basic as what side's the dit and the da to what the lack of a better term, what the workflow is going to be. Am I going to be logging with my phone, or am I going to want to actually do pen and paper in the beginning? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just see when we get there.
Yeah, it's going to be all your preference. I mean, I have my preferences, and I prefer. I like to hold my key when I'm sending POTA. When I'm at home, I usually have it on the desk, but I like to
Okay.
hold it, and then I like to use my iPad. So I'm holding it, holding up the left, keying on the left and with the right, and then I keying on the iPad or my phone or whatever with my right hand. So I'm
Okay.
using my right hand a lot.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be all preference, and that's the beauty of this hobby and this mode, is that you define what makes sense. And if you like the paper log, definitely paper log. I feel like it's a little bit easier with CW personally. It's a
Okay.
paper log. I don't know. I've never done it with single side band. I don't know about you.
I think my first two POTA activations, maybe three, were paper log
Yeah.
and stuff, but I was only getting like between 10 and 20
Yeah.
contacts.
Yeah.
It's a lot slower. I imagine it's the same thing with CW.
Right.
It's gonna be a lot slower at first versus now. If I go out, you crank the power and you and everything. It seems like it's always a struggle at first and it's a little slower pace. But once I moved from paper to doing it with phone, I haven't gone back.
Yeah, understandable there.
But
And
it's a preference. It's
a
everyone's
preference, all
different.
preference.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're all different, and then and that's about learning. So as we keep going and looking at, here's one warning for you, Mike. You've probably seen these things.
I've heard. I've never seen one. So when
Yeah.
I saw the deck, I was like, okay, good. He's going to talk about bugs because I've heard you and I've heard others talk about it, and I didn't quite get it until I saw the semi-automatic. And so I'll let you run with it, but I'm very curious about this.
Oh yeah. So the bug is, it is semi-automatic, and basically the DAWs are sent manually while the DITs are automatic. So one side is a DAW, and you got a DAW, and hits the DAW.
Mm-hmm.
The other side is the DITs, and it just rapid fires. So because all you gotta do is hold it, it's, it's like a machine gun, and you can tell the folks who are using bugs online, because man, their DAWs are so slow. It's like, okay, and then their DITs are like, okay, all right, you want me to copy this? I'm sitting in a park, because usually it's someone at home, and I'm sitting in the park, either cold or whatever, and they're throwing a machine gun DITs at me. I'm like, okay, did it? What is it? Which is question mark. Send it over again so I can try to get this and get my brain into bug mode so I can copy it. And some advice Carl said to me, Carl Hines, K5KHC, is that his call?
KHK.
Yep. You said, keep the bug keep the bug until you learn a little bit more. So I said, okay, Carl, I'll definitely do that. So for now, Mike, just skip the bug. They look pretty. They're beautiful looking devices, but skip them for now.
I will.
All right. Buy once, cry once. I don't know how you feel about buy once, cry once. Let's get your opinion on buy once, cry once.
I totally get it, and I'll share. I got into ham radio. I had the debate: do I get the Baofeng? Do I spend the $20, get the Baofeng, or do I get something that's more pricey? And I kind of compromised in the middle. Right. My first HT was a Yaesu FT4XR, which at the time was probably around $70-ish. Okay. And it was the budget Yaesu. Yeah. Great radio, love it. And I've gotten one and many Baofengs since, right? Right. There's something to be said. You want to have things that are affordable, whether it's radios, coax, antennas, and everything else, because you don't want that barrier to entry.
That's right.
But there's times too when it comes to radios, cars, other things where it's like, nope, it's worth spending the money. I'm an Apple fanboy, and so I always, when you talk about the buy once, cry once, iPhones, MacBooks, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But my experience has been, my phones have lasted several years. My computers last several years. Right. And it's a matter of preference and stuff. But there's pros and cons to both. And it's always nice to have options. Right. We definitely want options in this hobby.
Yep. Yeah, we absolutely need options. And the good thing about this is, though you're buying once, what I yeah, what I'm going to tell Mike about is some starter keys to buy. And these
Yeah.
starter keys are good. They're not perfect, they're affordable. And the
Hmm.
good thing about these starter keys is they're great backups because you never know when you're out in the field and oh crap, my key's dead. Having that second key in your hand or having that second key in your bag, just be able to reach for it because they're starter keys and they're probably going to last forever. They're going to be great. So the two I'm going to mention is if you go down the straight key route, there's one called the PCB straight key from cwmorse.us. It costs about $47, and basically that gives you the ability to have a straight key. And that's what I'm going to highly recommend you
Okay.
look at is straight keys
Definitely.
initially, and then having that in your bag is going to be good. And then there's a 3D double iambic paddle from the same company, CW Morse. I got one right here. This is my
Right.
main POTA key. It's about $26, and again, it gives you it's all 3D printed parts. Has the brass inside. You can get the ones with the magnets on the back, so it's a little bit better quality. So you can stick the magnet and keep it on a table on a jeweler's block, so you can send it
Okay.
a little bit better. So those are two options there. And I see, Mike, you mentioned a few from Zygu, from Radiati. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, yeah, and full disclosure, Radiodity did send me both the straight key and the paddle for review. I finally got them out of the box.
Nice.
um, I will be hooking them up and toying around later, especially as we were talking earlier about like some of the settings and all that. And so, like I said, I'll leave links to the keys and the video description down below, their affiliate links and whatnot. But yeah, no, these are I'm looking forward to playing around. And like you said, at least to get started.
Get
I've
started.
got the straight key and I've got a paddle as far as options, and I'm looking forward to playing with them. But I also know that right out of the gate for my portable use, something like that smaller 3D printed paddle is going to be the way to go.
Yeah,
Something that I can easily drop in the little lunchbox style bag that I have for my 705.
that's right.
We're gonna again, this goes back to it's always good to have options
That's right.
because sometimes we want things that are higher quality. Sometimes we're not so concerned about the quality. Sometimes it comes down to things like the size
That's right.
and what you can fit into like a little go kit for portable ops. So yeah,
Absolutely. So the one piece of advice I'm going to give you for the iambic paddle, the VK6, is it
hmm
might move around a little bit on you when you're
okay,
practicing with it. So what I have, and I bought some of this, it's called Museum Putty. So you can get it on
okay,
Amazon and pretty much anywhere. And it's basically what the museum curators use to keep something on display. So you put this underneath the key, and that key will not move around on
okay,
you. So just
good.
use that as you're learning the
Yep,
practice.
I can see what you mean because these do have a like a rubber background
Yeah,
and stuff, but depending on the surface that
right.
that's going to be on, the rubber's gonna it's either going to grip or it's going to slip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So it
So
might
one
slide
one of the
around a
two.
little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, just that'll help. That'll make sure it sticks the whole
Good
time.
tip.
So as we think about buy once, cry once, there are some investment grade keys, some
Okay.
Ferraris. That one there, I mentioned one called the Magali paddle, the Pearl specifically, and that paddle is going to cost you about 400 or 500 bucks, depending on the
Hmm.
shipping and everything else, and and tariffs, unfortunately. So that paddle it's a beautiful paddle. It looks pretty. And I'm sure if anyone who's gone to any of the Baker Ham Fest and walked by the Bagali
Hmm.
booth, whew, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I did buy one. It's called the Bagali Simplex Pro.
Oh yeah. Let me try to
And
let's see if I can make you bigger.
yeah, that is. It's a
Uh,
beautiful paddle. It has the Bengali symbol right there, and it has a serial number on the back. And the Simplex Pro is the plug-in; it doesn't have the key. Have the wire automatically there. It's a beautiful paddle. It's a definitely an investment. I have not told my wife how much it cost, so uh,
yeah.
we will.
Hold it back up again.
Oh,
Let's see.
really? I can do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this is the Bengali Simplex Pro. Beautiful
Okay.
paddle.
Nice.
It's gold plated and it has it's a beautiful pedal, and it sends like a dream. You can definitely see the difference between your 3D printed paddle and one of those things. That one's definitely not for the field. Just full disclosure there. I am not taking that outside of this shack. There's also another affordable paddle called the Bencher paddles, and I have a picture there on the screen for those who are watching on the stream.
Hmm.
It's a 200. You might be able to get one used for $100. The solid paddle, everyone talks about them. They're nice and have a nice solid base. As you can see that base there, Mike, how solid it is. That one's
Yeah.
not going to move around on you at all. So that one, if you want to spend a little bit more, but not go up to the Bengali level, you can get yourself a nice bencher paddle to utilize. And then there's some unobtainium paddles, as
I'm
they're
familiar
called.
with one of these. I'm very familiar
Oh
with one.
man! So the Palm Pico, I see all the YouTubers they're using that thing, and it looks perfect. And they just throw it in their bag, and it's small, and they got it in their hand, and they're just can. I cannot find one. Cannot find one. And as soon as it's posted on QRZ, it's sold like in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so is spoiler alert, and there's a video I did on my channel. I'll try to remember to leave a link down below. I went to Canada and got to do a POTA in Ontario with Vince VE6LK from Ham Radio Workbench,
Mhm.
and he gave me a CW lesson in the field. We did a POTA together, and at the end, I did my first park to park on CW with him.
Nice.
There was a lot of practice. He didn't realize I didn't know anything, but he at least got me to where we could do a dummy load to dummy load contact on, and we did 6 meters just for fun.
Nice.
But he gave me a Palm Pico to use, and you know, I remember him talking about how unobtainium those are,
Yeah.
and so you know, starting off with one of those, like it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're a dream too. Everything
Yeah,
I've heard is, oh, they're beautiful keys. Another beautiful key is the Modern Morris,
okay.
modernmorris.com, I believe it
I've
is.
heard that one too.
That one is the perfect POTA key, everyone says. It's great
Mm,
quality, very compact. You just can't get it. So
okay.
recently, he actually just modified his website because what he was doing was dropping them, and basically he dropped the say, okay, I got 30 for sale. They would sell in like 5 minutes. So he's now taking orders. He's probably going to be similar to what QRP Labs is doing, where basically you put in your order. I put my $15 down already, so I'm just waiting to hear back when
Yep.
another set's going to be made, and maybe I'll be able to buy my $250 key. And another one, Bama Tech. I believe they're out of Germany. Unfortunately, I heard the founder just recently passed away and they stopped shipping to the US. So that's what puts them on the unobtainium list as well. Another great set of keys that company used to make as
Nice.
well. So now that we talked about keys, let's talk about your key takeaways,
Yeah.
Mike. So your key takeaway is you're going to want to focus on the sound. You're going to focus on getting that auditory, get rid of that visual chart,
Hmm.
focus on just hearing the sound. We talked about LICW, we talked about using them for instruction, but they're also a community too. They do more than just teach classes. There's a group that gets on. I hop on it every so often, and we just get on and we get on the air. They have LICW Challenge, where you get on and make your first QSOs together if you want to do it that way. They have a 3D printing forum, so you can hop on there. They have an antenna building forum, so I'm sure you would like that,
Hmm.
where they would go on and talk about this unique antenna that they're building this month. There's so many other things. And, part of the community aspect of Morse code is that, you hop on and you start seeing the same people at class. You start building relationships with other people. You'll talk about them. You'll see them in class and you'll hear them on the air and you're like, hey,
Hmm.
and then you're catching that person. So, it's also about building community, not just the instruction, but which is important, but also building community around
Sure.
the instruction. In your free time, I want you to get that Morris Mania. I don't want you to practice that on the go during your free time, between meetings, at the doctor's office, at lunchtime. Use that modern Morris Mania app to get practicing. And you got two keys, but
Hmm.
I'm going to recommend sticking with the straight key.
Okay.
Just do the straight key for now. Just learn how to send those dits and dots. Just get familiar with that. And I thought we had a slide, but I must have missed it. Talking about a practice oscillator. We'll
Oh
definitely,
yeah. I wonder if that
yeah, did we lose
dropped
that
out when I
slide?
converted it.
Yeah, no worries if we didn't. So,
Okay.
practice oscillator, you want to be able to hear your dits and das that you're sending. So you can hook your radio up, but I don't know about you, but probably your cellular fry is probably quick to set up. But you can hook that up really quick and just turn it on practice mode. Don't transmit. Uh, just so you want to be able to hear your dits and das. So your practice oscillator is what's going to be your tool in order to hear
Okay.
your dits and das, and that's going to also give you that mobile station at home. To give you that station at home.
Okay.
The CW hotline is actually an oscillator. I have one right here. I'm going to bring it up. So again, there it is. So you basically pick it up from Ham Radio Solutions. Oh, I'm having trouble with the cord. Ham Radio Solution. Here it is. Ham Radio
Yep. There it
Solutions.
is.
There it is. It literally, you put your key in. It has a little audio port. and it comes out and basically your sounds. That's how you get your CW sounds. It's just so you can get practicing, the dot, the R, the dot, it. That's how you practice.
Perfect. Okay.
And also, it has what they call V-band. So with CW Hotline, you can actually make virtual QSOs if you hook your CW Hotline up to your computer and then go to a
Oh,
website called V-band. You can actually do a virtual QSO with someone on V-band. And it was
okay.
funny. I was playing with it one day. I hooked it up. I got into what they call them their
Yeah.
rooms. I got into one of the rooms, and someone from Japan he started sending to me, and he's like, "Hey,
Nice.
and it's I'm having a QSO with someone from Japan without a radio, just over the internet." So CW Hotline and the V band definitely worth the. You could either build a kit; it's $50 to build it, which is a very quick build. And you mentioned you have a solder, so you can throw
Yeah.
that together pretty
Okay.
quickly, or you can buy it already put together,
Okay.
and that's like $100. So those are your takeaways. Are you ready? So are you ready for your journey?
Oh yeah. Totally. No. No, I'm excited. I'm nervous, but no, I'm excited. And this was great. You gave me a lot to kind of think about, but also a lot to get started with.
That's right.
And stuff. Even something as simple as, making sure that I get Morse Mania
Yeah,
set up on the phone and and everything. This is really, really good. I really appreciate you taking the time and anyone watching this, if you have suggestions for me or anybody else about resources for getting started with CW, please leave them down below in the comments of the video, because it'd be helpful for me as I start this journey this year, but it's going to be helpful for other viewers too who are interested in getting started and stuff. We're all learning from each other in this hobby for sure. But thank you so much for doing this, Ron. This was a lot of fun. This is really useful, and I hope to the viewers this is useful too. And maybe end of this year, some of you watching, and definitely you, Ron, hopefully hope to get you in the log on CW.
we're gonna do it,
Uh,
Mike.
yes. All right. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm Mike, N2MAK
I'm Ron, W2LS
73.
73 or 72.
Yes.